live, laugh.
How's it going, everybody? And welcome to Live, Laugh, Lariat. I'm Daniel.
And I'm Christian.
We are joined by Ref Fit Jarrod Fritz. How are you doing today, Jarrod?
What's going on, guys? I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, of course. As we start off, I want to question. So I feel like a cool thing with referees is they have like their like attached, like you Ref Fit, and then we've also had on the podcast Ref Stash.
Yep.
Do you feel like he's taking things from you with the Ref Stash? Like, are you like, I started this?
No, absolutely not. I think, I had a lot of additional training from Brian Hebner, and Brian Hebner is very big on refs don't need to get over. Nobody's going to a show to watch a referee. My mindset, coming from the person who I was trained by, is that you don't make hardly any money in wrestling, independent wrestling. Like, you really don't make hardly any money. So how can you make additional money, And for me, it's like I run 4 different businesses. And so it's all about branding, and it's all about creating something tangible for people to have, something in their hand. So that was just my signature on it. And the whole thing came from where I separated my shoulder, because there was a point in time in my career where I was wrestling and refereeing at the same time, and I had separated my shoulders. So not only could I not wrestle anymore, I couldn't referee anymore, but I didn't even know if I could do my shoot job anymore, and it was a downward spiral for me. And I was really into CrossFit at the time. And it was just like, well, what about Ref Fit, And it started out kind of as like a rehab mindset for me. And then it became more of like people were kind of hopping onto it. And it really is an overall mindset at this point. So, that's like my signature to it. It's not necessarily a gimmick that I'm trying to get over or anything like that. Chris and his Ref Stash, like, that's just a cool signature. Charles Robinson and his blonde hair, it's a signature. Red shoes, his signature, type of thing. I don't think it gets any of us over as a character or anything like that, but it's definitely something that attaches to something people can associate with. Oh, you remember that referee with that, like, makes it a little bit easier, particularly in a time where WWE for the longest time took names away from referees. They were just the referee in the ring,
Yeah.
So sorry, that was a little long-winded.
No, that's good. That's good.
Chris was actually our first ever interview, so we always like to
awesome
poke fun at him. But yeah, you're definitely putting in a lot more work to your name than he is.
Well, like I said, it all comes back to branding, though.
Like
there's a way that you have to like bring yourself around so that everything because all the 4 different things that I do have to be associated in one format or another.
Yeah.
So it's just linking each one of them together.
Yeah. Speaking of other things you do, you've got a limited edition shirt and towel combo.
Yes.
Pre-order, if you'd like to talk about that before we jump into things.
Yeah, I was just checking my my calendar here. We have 2 more days left. I teamed up with Angry Lemonade, based out of Tennessee area. We are doing, actually, it's a pair of gym shorts. There's men's and women's. Yep. And then the hand towel, the gym towel, whatever you want to call it, with 2 different logos, the Ref Fit logo, the basic blue one, and then the rainbow one, in support of Pride Month and everything like that. So I will send you guys the link. You guys can share that on the feed or wherever you need to share it at. Like I said, there's 2 more days left. So I think it expires on the night of the 15th.
Okay.
Awesome, man. Awesome.
Yeah, it's really cool, especially like I think Angry Lemonade's pretty cool what they're kind of doing, coming along in like the world of wrestling tees and kind of making things more personal and more kind of like
everything is better when it's accessible.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So
and
go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, and everything that I do, because I don't like to have a lot of gear on hand. You go to some of these shows and people have boxes upon boxes upon boxes of shirts and everything, and that's not my style. And I've learned through business that there is the scarcity principle. So when it's limited, people want it more, right?
Yeah.
So everything I do is just a pre-order only. I'm only doing one run, and that's it. We might do something similar in the future, but that's it. Like, we did these shirts with Wrestling Over Everything. I did a very small run of it. I think we ended up selling like 8 or 9, and that was it.
Yeah.
You know, these will never be made again. So like, it's just something that I like to do, to throw something out there. And really, wrestling over everything's done a lot for me. So like,
Yeah.
all the money went back to them. Like I didn't care. It wasn't trying to make extra money for me. It was just, we got the NWA colors representing NWA and help them out. It's got the RefFit logo on the back of that. Boom. You know, something simple
I've
to bring
I've never
attention.
been so bummed that I can't buy something. I feel like it was given to me and just taken away, and I'm
Well, now
bummed
you just
out.
have to get the shorts.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, I just gotta get the shorts now. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Awesome. So I would say, for those who don't know, and if you don't know, you're clearly not like watching
Well,
wrestling.
yeah. If you don't know, you are not going to shows, because you're everywhere, man.
Yeah.
Like that truly is like. I was pumped when Daniel told me about this interview, because I'm like, oh my god, it's that guy. I like, he's great. He's everywhere.
Yeah, from you've worked. I'm gonna try to name them all off the top of my head. So you're currently working NWA, New Japan on the East Coast tours, AML, MLW, MLW. Are we missing it? I'm sure there's more, but you're everywhere. You're doing everything. Um, but there has to be an origin story for that. So, where did wrestling start for you as like a fan?
So realistically, it started in my aunt and uncle's trailer when I was visiting them, and my uncle had one of those old school like 7-inch TVs that were black and white that the reception sucked really bad,
Yeah,
and we were watching. I think it was Dusty Rhodes, you know, an old NWA match or something like that. I didn't know at that time. I think I was maybe 6 years old. I had no idea
yeah,
what the hell it was, but it was really cool, and I saw how into it my uncle was. Um, and I didn't realize that it was something that you could just get on TV all the time. And then I started watching it, and my mom hated it. She's
yeah.
like, "You're not doing that. No, you're gonna hurt yourself." Blah 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 blah. And like, I think every little boy is like, "Yeah, I'm gonna show you how to do the sharpshooter or power bomb or whatever it might be."
Yeah.
So for me, I spent probably upwards of a year like hiding it from my mom. You know, like
Yeah.
I'd have it on the TV, and I'd be standing there with the door shut. And as I heard her coming, you know, I'd switch the channel real quick, type of thing. Eventually, she gave in, became pretty much a pretty big fan. And I say a pretty big fan just between WCW, WWF,
Yeah.
you know, at the time, because I mean, realistically, that's all I was even aware of.
Yeah.
We moved when I was 13 years old. We moved to Japan. My dad was military. Had no idea about New Japan, All Japan, anything like that. No clue whatsoever. So, you know, hindsight, damn, that would have been really cool. You know? But I actually kind of lost touch with wrestling at that time, because, you know, we were living on the base, and all you got base TV was like 4 or 5 months old, sometimes a year old stuff. So you never got anything current. And when we moved back in 99 or 98, late into 98 into 99, that's when like the first era of Tough Enough was coming out. And I was like, oh man, you know, that's kind of cool. But you know, I was 125 pounds, 5'7". I was like, yeah, there's no way I'll ever be a wrestler. You know, whatever. And so I just kind of became a fan, you know, fair weather fan, if you will. Like watched it throughout high school, and then as I got into my 20s, it was a little iffy, you know, type of thing. And then fast forward to 2008. I was working with the women's national soccer team. For those who don't know, I'm a sports massage therapist, and I was working with the women's national soccer team at the 08 Olympics.
Wow.
And the doctor that was there had just signed a contract with WWE to work with them. So he knew that I was a wrestling fan. He said, anytime I'm on the East Coast and the Southeast, I'll try to bring you out and do some sports massage. I did a couple of shows with them, and then it kind of fizzled out. So I spoke to my massage therapy mentor, who was actually in the time living down in Tampa where FCW was. I was like, hey, do you know anybody there? And he's like, no, I don't know anybody there. But I taught a guy who's now a pro wrestler in Charleston. He hooked me up with a local facility here. And all I really wanted to do was just do massage with him. I had really no intention of ever doing anything else.
Yeah.
But in the state of South Carolina, you have to be trained and licensed to be within 6 feet of the ring. So they wanted to kind of run this little story angle with the guy who'd kind of brought me into it. I got trained. When I got trained, they were like, hey, ever thought about being a referee? And I was like, nope. But I'll give it a shot if you guys want me to. And that was 8 years ago, and here I am today.
Yeah. So
wow,
really awesome story, going like from the Olympics to South Carolina where you're training. very unique story. When you started out, how far did you take the wrestling side of things before you went like?
So honestly, I had zero intention of actually wrestling. But I do believe that every referee out there should train as a wrestler for many different reasons. First and foremost, to understand how it feels and understand how you should potentially react to certain situations. One of my biggest pet peeves is when referees overreact on everything.
Yeah.
And it's like, realistically, it doesn't hurt that bad. Even if you were to take it for real, like, it doesn't hurt that bad. So you shouldn't react to that bad. Not to mention you're not taking the move, so you shouldn't react there. But also anticipatory patterns. If they're about to do this move, you can move out of the way and not be in the way and not have to scurry out too quickly and make it look wonky. And then now the attention goes on you instead of that. But so I started training as a wrestler, as a referee, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I did refereeing for, I want to say it was about 6 to 8 months. And my trainer was like, "You ever thought about wrestling?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, I'll give it a shot." And so I went under a moniker in the upstate South Carolina and then out of the area. So that way I could still kind of do both and not confuse things. And then I took it upon myself to go under a hooded gimmick. So I'd go to shows, I'd work the first match under a hood, then come out on the third match and referee the rest of the show. But then when I separated my shoulder, I was already kind of getting burnt out on wrestling. I felt like I added more value to the shows as a referee than I did as a wrestler. There's a lot of really good wrestlers out there, and I'm not one of them. So, like, why not do what I'm better at?
Yeah.
But the accident was like, that was the linchpin, if you will, where it was like, okay, let me put all my chips in on refereeing.
How did you mess up your shoulder?
Wrestling training.
Okay.
We were just doing a couple of little simple drills. And unfortunately, in high school, I wrestled throughout high school, and I had already had damage to the shoulder, apparently, according to ortho. But I just took a bump and kind of rolled over on my shoulder, and I heard a little click. And when I stood up, I lifted up my shoulder, and it just kind of dropped. I was like, "Yep, no, that's that's not good." So yeah, it was a very humbling moment. I appreciate it. Because as a sports massage therapist, now I know the patterns of rehab and everything like that. I actually had to experience it myself. So it added value back to what I was doing as a sports massage therapist. Plus, it helped kind of narrow my direction with wrestling and everything.
Yeah, that's awesome. You mentioned the hooded character. What was your name and kind of what was the story behind that?
Well, it was very extremely short-lived. I think it was only in one promotion, and I think I only did maybe 2 or 3 matches with it. It was actually a replica of the Red Hood from Batman. I don't know if you guys.
That's rad.
Yeah. And it was just long compression shirt with gloves, and then like camo style pants and combat boots. It was like essentially a take on
the Jason Todd Red Hood, or the original one?
Jason Todd Red Hood. And so it was kind of a takeoff of that. It was just I wanted it to be an ambiguous character, kind of like the Undertaker. He could be good or bad, whatever you wanted to do. It didn't necessarily have to be a babyface or a heel. It was just something that could be plugged in, and now you have duality at a show. You can add more value to the show, is the way that I thought about it. So it was fun. It was cool. I'm glad I don't do it anymore, to be honest with you. I believe I have probably one more match because I didn't get to get my, like every wrestler deserves and should have their own like swan song, so to say. And so I didn't get to go out necessarily on my terms. And, we've been throwing some ideas around because I want it to mean something. I don't want it to just be, oh, here we go, And I've joked with, because I showed a picture to Tom Latimer at NWA, and he's like, "Bro, you should totally wrestle." I'm like, "Yeah, I don't want to." It's like, it's got to mean something, and it's like, you don't want to be the Danny Davis. When Danny Davis finally wrestled, like, that was it. He was done with referee and you can't go back type of thing. And I don't want to do that. Like, if I do that, I want it to be like a full retirement from pro wrestling where like that's the swan song for everything. So
do you have any guys in mind for what that match might be?
I would love, I've always kind of imagined it in my head to be kind of like a Survivor Series gimmick type of thing. Maybe a 5v5 and incorporate all the people who have really truly helped me out in the business. Bob Keller and John Schuyler are the guys who trained me. Zuka King, he's my best friend. Like we started training together, and we've had this journey together. George South has added a lot of value to my career. Gangrel has added a lot of value to my career. Dr. Tom. It'd be fantastic to have like all those guys involved in one fashion or another.
Yeah.
You know, war game style, Survivor Series style, whatever. Like it would be
Yeah.
super cool to have that.
Yeah, that would be awesome. So you kind of got your start with WrestleForce. Is that with Bob
Yeah.
Keller?
Yeah. Old School Championship Wrestling in Charleston, South Carolina, is where I was originally brought into via Pete Casa. He was the one that kind of introduced me to that.
Yeah.
And then when I got trained by Bob Keller, who at the time still runs WrestleForce now. So Bob Keller and John Schuyler kind of trained me and just kind of grew from there.
Nice. As far as being a referee goes, what are some things that like you think like you want the average fan to know? Like, of course, your job is to not be seen, but like I asked Kevin Pierce this: what is the least favorite thing that fans yell at you? Like,
It's
his
just
was,
like dumb. Like it's just like
was,
they don't get it.
Yeah, I think his was that was 3, but
Yeah.
I think it's 2-part question. What is your least favorite thing to have yelled at you? And then what do you wish fans knew more about like referees and like the art of it?
Oh, dude, I can wrap that all up in one freaking answer.
That's great.
The thing is they always try to tell us how to do our job.
Yeah.
Right? And each independent promotion has their own set of rules per se. You know, New Japan has a 20 count on the outside, whereas most other companies have a 10 count on the outside. So every promotion themselves have a set of rules, if you will.
Yeah.
And the one thing that everybody constantly forgets, referee discretion in its fullest. It's always up to the referee. You know, you can historically watch any other matches from same promotions, and certain referees had more leniency. You know, it also depends on the severity of the match. You know, if this is a blow-off match and you want it to be big and whatever, you're going to give them a lot more leniency. You're going to let them do the thing. And it also should develop, your officiating should develop in a story just like a wrestler's story is told in the ring, right? Yeah. So I'm not going to go balls to the wall the moment they get into the corner for the very first time, because that's stupid, right?
Yeah.
Guys, come on, let's get out of the corner. You know better. Come on. They go again. Guys, let's go. I don't want to give you the 5 count. See, I'm narrating it for the audience to listen to.
Yeah.
But the thing is they jump out right from the get-go. Get them out of the corner. Get them out of the corner. Blah, blah, blah. Calm down. Let me do my job. You know, like I don't go to your job and tell you how to do your job. You know, that type of thing. It's one thing if, you know, if there's a botch or a fuck up or something like that, you know, like that's understandable. You can get pissed at them or whatever, but let the referee be the narrator, because that's our job. We're here to help oversee the story so that you get the enjoyment out of it. But if you're constantly talking over it and not listening to what the referee is saying, and again, not all referees are good at doing this, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But when you can identify that there's a good referee and there's somebody who knows their stuff, listen to them, because it helps tell that story.
Yeah. Nothing takes me out of a match more than just some smart ass like just trying like shit talking the ref the entire match.
Yeah. And the thing is it's not about us. It's about the wrestlers, right? So if your focus is on the referee, then number one, you don't care about the match that's in there, whether that's your care of the wrestlers or that's the wrestlers' inability to capture your attention, because that's how it should be, is they should have your attention, not the referee. You know, and I explain this to a lot of guys, particularly those that are trying to get cheap heat, if you will. The moment that a heel yells at a referee for no real good reason or whatever, it enables the fans to do just the same. And it takes all the focus off of you and gives it right to the referee. And the referee doesn't need it. Like, what the hell do we need it for? You know?
Yeah. Refs are always like universally in sports, you're going to naturally get blamed. Like you don't need any help when it comes to that.
Yeah. I spoke with, we were at the Winston-Salem, the Crockett Cup, and there was a dark match. It was a 8-man. It was a big thing. It was an 8-man match. I think it was 5 minutes, something like that. It was just a quick dark match. But Lucky Ali was in it, and fantastic wrestler, super talented, great heel. And at the beginning of the match, you know, they're in our ear. They're like, hey, we got to ring the bell. And so, you know, of course, I ring the bell, and he looks at me and he starts yelling at me. I haven't taken off my coat, you know, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, let's go. Come on, wrestle, you know. And afterwards, I told him, I was like, listen, you don't need to do that, you know, because now everybody out there already doesn't like referees. They always like to pick on them. And now what you've done is you've just told each one of them that it's okay to pick on the referee. And now it takes focus off of the match there. And he's like, dude, I've never even looked at it that way. You know, I was like, Yeah, the focus should be on you guys, So the only time it ever has to be on the referee is when it becomes like a bump, and the bump shouldn't even be more on the referee as much as the lost opportunity for whatever it was.
Yeah.
So with that being said, what's your take on, I guess, the ROH Todd Sinclair thing, or the Rick Knox PWG, where there's like this dynamic where the fans are so into the ref doing stuff within the match that like is past what a normal ref would do, whether it's taking a bump or doing moves or any of that.
I mean, I don't see the necessity for it. Like if you have those old matches that you've seen where maybe the heel's been, poking at the ref or whatever and everything, and finally that ref pushes them back, and that's what caused it. That makes sense. That tells the story. But for a referee to give somebody a stunner in the middle of the match, or dive out of the ring or something, I don't understand it. I mean,
yeah,
we're in an era now where there's so many different types of wrestling that people can like certain things and everything like that. That's not wrestling to me. I'm not going to critique you on the fact that you like that or whatever, but that's just not wrestling to me. I won't do it. I don't have a desire to do that kind of stuff. It just doesn't make any sense. I've done fun things before where one of my favorite moments is it was big time wrestling, and it was it ended up being a match where it was C.W. Anderson and John Schuyler versus Shane Douglas and Bully Ray.
Wow.
In a ECW style match. So there was really, no rules or anything like that. And during the match, Schuyler and Anderson take out Shane and Bully. And now they try to rough me up because I had made a poor call on Schuyler in his opening match, type of thing. So they picked me up on the post and everything that we're going to show you, blah, blah, blah. Well, Shane and Bully comes back in and everything. They schmoz Anderson out. And now they have Schuyler down with his legs spread, right? And Bully's like, you need to go up to the top to Shane, like, no, you, no, you back forth. And then they turn and they look at me, and I'm already standing there, and Bully's like, what's up? So I do the whole fucking, and it was fun, it was fun, but it was also big time wrestling. It's for pure fun and entertainment, and it was a match that was ECW rules, so like, it makes sense, to do it in a regular match.
The payoff is already there.
Yeah,
exactly. So it told the fun story. The fans got a kick out of it, that type of thing. So it's knowing the crowd, knowing the promotion, knowing what you need to do, and everything like that. So again, I don't fault those guys for doing the things that they do. I just don't see a necessity for doing it on the regular type of thing.
Yeah, for sure. When it comes to the matches with different stipulations, what's your least favorite stipulation type of match as a ref?
I don't know. Triple threats are always kind of a pain in the ass in a way. I mean, there's really no rules, but I'm more bothered by the fact that in a lot of triple threats, you don't actually see three men wrestling on the regular. You see, or I should say three people. You see, like, they start out and then one goes out, and all of a sudden, a knee takes them out for 2 minutes that normally they can kick out of no problem. And so that it's just more kind of like, and then meanwhile, kind of you're looking on the outside just to see where they're at, just to make sure that they're okay, type of deal. Whereas if everybody's just, doing the shell game in there, just working one another, it makes it better. I don't think there's one that I really truly dislike. I don't like doing tag team wrestling with people that don't know how to do tag team wrestling. I mean, again, it's evolved, so I understand that completely and everything like that. But if we're going to do a lot of tornado style type of stuff, why not just make it a tornado style match instead of trying to enforce the rules of holding the ropes and giving them a 5 count just to have it dumped on at the very end? Again, we can give leniency when we need it, but you have to build that story,
right?
Taking 30 seconds to set up a move, why? Like, it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Part of the excitement of tag team wrestling is that hot tag, or is that pull away, or, the anticipation of, oh my God, are they going to get the tag? Or he got the tag, but the ref's back was turned, so it wasn't there, or he wasn't holding the rope, so it can't be legit. That's what tag team's designed for, in my opinion. Everybody's got their own cup of tea.
Do you think that's a positive evolution for tag team wrestling, or do you think that's like the last 5 or 6 years has that trended like in the wrong direction?
Again, evolution is what it is of everybody's preference and everything like that. I think it's definitely gone downhill more than anything, but you have people like FTR who are still legitimately doing it. The Briscoes were doing it. I mean, the Briscoes still had a lot of like showy stuff. I've worked with them several times, but they also know how to work legitimate.
Right.
You've got people like La Rebellion from NWA who in AAA they go haywire, but in NWA, like me and them talk all the time, and they make sure they've got the rope, they got legitimate tags, they make it make sense and everything like that. So that's the true sign of a professional wrestler is adaptability. And I think that's also a responsibility of referees is that you should go to the match that you're assigned to and say, hey, this is how I officiate. I want to make sure that you guys are on board with that.
Yeah.
I tell a lot of people, like I work with some guys and they're like, we need like 10 seconds to do this. I'm like, okay, so here's the deal. When I tell you to get out, I'm going to draw it out. But the moment you cross through those ropes, I don't care if it's your arm or your foot, you act like you're going out. Guess what? That restarts the count. So all you got to do is act like you're doing it and then come right back in, and I can acknowledge that and be like, now guys, it's kind of like when you're counting them on the outside and you get to that 9 and someone rolls in and they roll right back out. It starts to count over again. So it makes sense and it doesn't make the referee look stupid.
Yeah.
Because at some point, when we're sitting there we're counting it, you're like, and I've told people at certain, I'll check with the promoter first. I'm like, listen, if they don't listen to me, I'm just going to ring the bell, because I'm not going to get shit all over because that's not why I'm here. I'm here to enforce the rules. And if they can't do that, then that's something they have to listen to. A buddy of mine went down and did a Evolve seminar at one point, and I think it was Robbie Brookside was down there looking over everything, and guy got somebody in the corner. Ref gave him the 1, 2, 3, 4, back it up, went right back in there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, rang the bell, and it was like 90 seconds into the match, and everybody was like, "What just happened?" And Robbie Brookside just started clapping. He's like, "Ref did his job."
Yeah.
So if it's the bigger companies, the wrestler gets penalized and the ref gets a bonus. That type of thing. And if you want to make it to the big leagues, act like you're going to be at the big leagues. Become adaptable and learn the differences in there.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's something you don't really think about, especially like, of course, there's an involvement between the workers and the ref, but like just how much goes into it to make it make sense. Like, I think a lot of people take praise for granted.
Because the template has to stay the template. Like, there's certain rules you have to follow to do it. It's the platform already exists. You can't remake the platform.
Yeah.
The ref has to have authority. And then you tell the story you can tell within those parameters, but there has to be parameters.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Correct. And I mean, that's the thing is like, when I got into the business about 8 years ago, there was a lot of that old mentality of referees don't touch the wrestlers, just count, type of deal. When I don't kick out, that's the finish, and it's like, well, that's cool, dude. But here's the thing is my job is to make the match look as good as I possibly can. So if you give me all the intricacies and you could tell me, what you're going to do, I don't want to oversell a whole bunch of stuff so that it diminishes the finish. And that's why I'll usually ask people, I'm like, listen, if you've got 1 or 2 falsies that you need to be really, really big, let me know which ones those are, and I will react appropriately. I'm going to jump up, hands up in the air, big time, and that will get the crowd up. I guarantee you it'll get the crowd up, type of deal. Yeah. Whereas if I do that every single time, by the time that the finish comes, it falls flat, So there should be an open line of communication between the referee and the wrestlers. I worked a match last night at Viral between Jay Lethal and Sean Legacy, and it was a great match.
Yeah.
And things towards the end switched. They altered a little bit and everything like that. And I had to go on the fly. And luckily I was already reacting as Jay was saying something to me. So, our minds were like right there because we understood where we were at, type of deal.
Yeah.
And I think honestly, it made the finish even better than what it was going to be at that time. So
that's a really awesome match. Sean Legacy is like we were talking about last night, like he's not gonna be on the Indies very much longer. The dude is fucking star. But what are some of the top 3 matches that you've had the privilege of calling, like on your Mount Rushmore?
Well, there's 4 on Mount Rushmore, isn't there?
Yeah.
Yeah. If you want to give
Oh,
us that
man.
bonus.
Yeah.
So I will say I can't to make the pun, I can't etch it in stone, but the first big match that I ever had that really like got me, oh my God, like we all meshed well together.
Yeah.
It was a PWX show. It was Darius Lockhart versus Shane Strickland, aka Swerve. And it was for the ITV championship. And it was one of those that it was the first time I really experienced like good storytelling where the crowd reacted really, really, really well, and the wrestlers reacted really, really well. In PWX, there was another match. It was Jay Rios versus Serpentico, and it was a no holds bar fight type of deal, and it was this big blow off from an altercation type of thing. And it was one of those matches that I got done, and as I'm walking Jay to the back, like I literally start crying. And I didn't know why. It was just, there was a lot of emotion into it and everything. And so I ended up, and this is a cool thing, when we moved to Tennessee, we're going to get like a room set up and everything. But I bought the mask from Serpentico from that match because they ripped it and everything. Yeah. And Jay and Serpentico signed it and everything. So like, it's just one of those cool memory things for me. I'd have to throw up the first, and at this, well, no, I've done 2 technically. The first time I ever did the NWA World Heavyweight Championship between Trevor Murdoch and Mike Knox. Unfortunately, it was in front of a diminished crowd because of all the COVID stuff and everything like that. But it was the first time I ever did the speech, and it was just a cool match. Like it was like when you get involved with NWA. I mean, and I've been a fan of NWA for a long time. It's like you want the 10 pounds of gold to be above your head, like that's just something as a referee that you want to be able to do and do the speech, because I think that's something that loses a lot of its legitimacy in wrestling, is the importance of the title matches, and you can have all these hype videos and everything like that, but just presenting it over your head without that speech, the speech just means a lot. And then that would be my 4th one is Camille versus Kylan King at Always Ready. It was the first and only time, to my knowledge, that there was a speech attached with the women's championship match in NWA history. And I spoke to Mike Mooneyham and several other historians, and they haven't been able to find it anywhere else if there was ever a speech with that belt. So, and that was a cool one because Bully Ray was on commentary, and then he came in afterwards. And, the story behind Kylan and Camille is they both trained under Bully Ray. So, like, it was another emotional match. And so that's the things that get me, is the emotion, there can be a lot of cool matches where there's a lot of cool stuff. Honorable mention was when I worked FTR versus Rock and Roll Express at Big Time Wrestling. Again, a lot of emotion. I think there was 900 people in the crowd. It was fantastic. Simple match, but just awesome.
Oh yeah, for sure.
That's awesome.
And then we usually like to wrap things up with trying to look to the future. Who are some, I guess we could do like referees, but also wrestlers do you think that more people should know about?
Oh man, great question. Let's see here. Zuka King. I mean, like, yeah, I'm going to be biased and everything like that, but like reality is that I've been in several locker rooms with him, with people that I don't know that are like, listen, this guy is the best heel on the indies right now. And it's true. He is, he's one of the ones that puts in a lot of work, and he keeps it basic. He keeps it simple. You can look at him and TJ Boss together as the E&D. They're a really good, solid tag team. I love them. And yes, I'm biased because I train with the guys, but they put the work in for it, and they do the study and all that. Let's see here. I've always been a big fan of Sean Donovan up in the Northeast. He's a really good guy. He does a lot of stuff with WrestlePro and everything like that. I don't think he gets the rub that he needs. I did some work with him in Mid-Atlantic Fan Fest. God, this was 6 years ago. We did a Tom Pritchard camp there, and that's where I first met him. A lot of cool people at that camp. Like Darby Allin was there. Matt Riddle was there. Damian Priest was there. So it was a really good group of guys. But yeah, Sean Donovan's really good. Let's see here. I've become a fan of the Outrunners.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
As a tag
they're
team, like
fun.
I've worked with them twice now, and they're fun. I think they have the potential. Plus, it's that old school type of stuff
Oh
that
yeah. For
I
sure.
really enjoy and everything. Um, let's see here. I always hate being caught off guard with this stuff. Christopher Prince, I think, is doing really good stuff. He's very very small, lightweight, but he's got a lot of attitude. He can carry a match. I did a referee seminar up at XWW, and I had him come out to help. Just basically, we needed mock matches that I could watch referees do their stuff with. And he was working with another guy who didn't speak very much English, and he was calling stuff in the ring. And then, I mean, he'd be able to stop and modify right on the go. And that's professional wrestling right there. You have to be able to just go and not show the emotion of getting, complicated in there. God, man, there's a whole handful of them. I said Lucky Ali earlier, but I think everybody already knows about Lucky Ali at this point. You guys said Sean Legacy. Let's see here. As far as referees go, I worked with one last night. I worked with him NWA for a small period. He helped out with Tampa. His name's Jeff Flores. He also does a manager gimmick down at FIP, Skinny Vinny. But the kid's really good. He's on top of his game. So for all the promoters out there, if you need a good, reliable referee that's TV ready, Jeff Flores is your man. I've been working with a couple other ones that I think have a lot of potential. Katrina Kais, she's one of the ones that I help, and Galen Kingsley here recently. I don't get to work with a lot of other referees aside from, kind of the handful that are, NWA level, New Japan level, that type of thing. Yeah. I'm working with the same ones over and over again, so I can't really, say a whole lot. There's a handful of them that are like really out there, like putting the work in. But yeah, as of right now, that's my calls on them.
Awesome. Then Christian, I think this is a good time for your favorite question, if you'd like.
Okay, so
really
into fitness, I get it. But on that day when your body isn't a temple, what are you eating?
Well, actually, that's today. So Sundays are usually my cheat day, if you will. It really, like, I listen to my body, and it's like whatever I'm craving. Like my wife made some brownies, so like I've nibbled on some brownies and everything like that. We might do Culver's butter burgers for dinner. They have the gluten-free buns. I'm celiac, so like I have to get the gluten-free stuff.
Yeah.
But so we might do that for dinner. I don't really know. I don't think there's like a specific splurge that I'm like, oh man, yeah, like I've got to do that, like a shake or anything like that. I've done that in the past where like, oh dude, I want a shake, and I got like a third of the way into it, and I'm like, I'm disgusted now. Like I can't finish this. But I am a sucker for cheesecake. Find me a good New York style cheesecake, and I'm sold.
Yeah. Perfect.
This has been so much fun, man.
Yeah, I feel like first off, we'd love to have you back on because we didn't really touch about New Japan, MLW, NWA.
Anytime.
But yeah, this was a blast. I think we already mentioned this, but where can everybody find you on socials?
Socials, Jarrod.Fritz on Instagram and TikTok, Jarrod C. Fritz LMT on Facebook, and at JFritzRefit on Twitter.
Okay, awesome. Make sure you check them out, and any promoters out there that don't know about you, well, hopefully now we get some more calls. But you're a very busy man, so thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, we'd love to have you back on.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Well,